From the Greeks, especially the mythology part of it, we learn, or we are told, that when the gods want to destroy you, they first make you mad. From Charlie Pride, famous song, famous number, pride comes before fall. And from Jane observations in life, there is what we call the dictator's trap. When men are in power, they become blinded or they become blind. They don't see things that are really obvious. Today, this country faces imminent danger because our political leaders don't seem to be seeing that yonder lies danger. They don't seem to understand this country is one big flashpoint. Our leaders don't seem to understand that there is a fuel tanker, petrol tanker, that has overturned and there's leakage of fuel. And like fools, they continue to dance around the fuel tanker. And I can see a number of them going for cigarettes and lighters. Yonder lies danger for this country. The river we are about to cross, and I warn leaders in this country, we are about to cross a river in the Roman period, the Rubicon. A river which, whenever you had gone for a successive campaign as a general, when you returned to Rome, you could not cross that river before disarming your army. This country is about to cross the Rubicon. I smell a revolution. I smell danger. And for that reason, I advise our leaders, nay, I warn them. And I'm not talking about those on the government side. I'm not talking about those in the opposition. I'm talking about the leadership of this country in general. That they are playing with danger. They are playing with fire. This country is ripe for a revolution. This country can go down. This country is delicate. This is a country with such a huge unemployment. The bulk of this unemployed youth are boys and girls who have college education, as Americans would put it. We have thousands and upon thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of young men and women with university education roaming the streets of Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, Eldoret. We have millions of young men and women full of energy and ready to work with no job to do. Our slums are beaming with hopelessness, with millions of people who don't know what tomorrow will bring. Not even tomorrow, of whether evening will come and whether there will be a meal. We are in a country where millions of people go to bed hungry. And yet our leaders continue to play politics, cheap politics. So, my advice to the president of this country: govern the country. You are legally the president of this country, sworn in constitutionally. And I'm yet to hear anybody in this country challenging the presence of William Samoei Ruto. People could have an issue with the way the president is governing the country, certain pronouncements, certain directions, or even the general direction. But not a single human being in this country is saying Ruto is in office illegally. Even Mother Karua explained. So, firmly in office, with all the legal instruments, I implore the President of the Republic of Kenya not to operate as if there is an election going on. The election is past us. I ask the President not to fight imaginary enemies. I ask the President and his deputy not to overreact to all normal reactions from the opposition. But above all, because this country is hurting. This country has about 7 people who voted for Ruto and about 7 million people. 7 million or thereabouts who voted for Raila and Ruto. And another 7 million who did not vote. There are millions of people who are hurting in this country. There are millions of people in this country who switch off their televisions the moment Ruto appears on TV. This we must tell him. Just like some young man was in my house in 1990 or thereabouts. I used to get milk from the village. I was staying somewhere in Odero called Gishagi. A young boy of about 10 years, he switched off my TV in my house because Moi appeared on TV. In my house. There are millions of people in this country who wish and who actually switch off the TV when Ruto appears. So there are people who are hurting in this country. In a country like that, I advise the president, as a senior citizen, the president should not do things that will be interpreted to mean he's out for revenge. That he's pursuing anybody. I have said repeatedly, history has shown us any leader who ascended to the throne and embarked on a revenge mission never achieved anything. They always failed in the long last. And that revenge is for the weak. That's why when we were growing up, revenge was for small boys. As you grow older, you realize the embarrassment, the shame that hits those who are opposing you is enough. If anybody opposed Ruto, whether they are from the church or from government, from the intelligence, from the police, they must live with the fact that Ruto is the president today. That is enough. You don't need to do anything else. And I'm not saying the president has done anything. I'm saying that perception. When people feel that is happening, it's not good for the country. When the pronouncement from the president is likely to provoke anger, raise passion in a country that is hurting, in a country where people watch loved ones die at home because they cannot afford to take them to hospital, in a country where now people have received their children after closing schools this weekend, and they are wondering how they'll get back to school, and before they get the answer, they are being told the government has removed subsidy on school fees. I don't know whether that is true. In a country like that, you want to listen to what Kalonzo Musyoka is saying much more carefully. That this country could be rocked by disturbances that will rob Kenyans of their Christmas. And I want to ask the opposition not to react merely because the president has said something, to find more ways of having constructive engagement with the president or with the issues raised by the president. But I also want to be very blunt about two things, and they are related. One is that when we have demonstrations or mass action, from our own experience as a country, nobody comes out the victor. A country that is looking to employ young men and women cannot afford disturbances that can scare away investors. That one investor who is going to employ 200 young men and women should not be scared away because people are shouting in Nairobi, haki yetu, haki yetu. You cannot afford that, certainly. But I also want to point out the second thing, is that because of the desperation, because of the state of hopelessness that abounds in this country, pulling a crowd for mass action is not a big thing. The way things work in life, that what goes round comes round. You exploit the helplessness of the situation, the hopelessness of the situation in the country to ascend to power. People listen to you. But the same crowd can now be whipped by the opposition. And where are we going to be as a country? The crowd that Brutus and his men were addressing, the crowd that was cheering them after the assassination of Julius Caesar, is the same crowd that Mark Antony worked on and that chased and persecuted Brutus and his people, changing the course of history. Let nobody celebrate as a leader that they can use the crowd in certain moments to ascend to power or to remove those who are in power. The end result, zero gain. Zero. Nobody, not Ruto, not Raila, not Kalonzo, not Martha Karua, not Rigathi Gachagua. None of you will benefit from the fights you are beginning to introduce that may plunge this country into chaos. Nothing, none of you. And I've said this before, repeatedly. We live in times when, because of the ballooning unemployment, raising a crowd is not a very big thing. And therefore the president must not, and my advice to him, the president must never do anything that is interpreted to mean he's persecuting people. He's out for revenge. He's protecting certain sides. In fact, the president will gain by appearing and being seen to be national and embracing everybody in the way he runs his government, in the way he discourages people who may try to go after small people. And Raila should be advised, together with his team, that giving the president time to implement his policies may be a better way to go. And that's why I end this video by advising the opposition led by Raila Odinga. It is in the interest of this country and in their own interest to give William Samoei Ruto the 1 year he has asked for, to try and work out things, to figure out how we'll handle the mess that this country is in. And because there's no emergency, like I've said, you cannot say you want to take Ruto head on immediately because there's no emergency. In matters of the 4 IEBC commissioners, their fate is sealed. So even Raila and his team trying to push in that direction, to me, is a waste of time. In any case, And that is the constructive engagement I'm talking about. We don't need the 4 commissioners or the commission in the first place. We cannot afford to go to the next election as a country without working out IBC, not just in terms of who are the commissioners, but in terms of the structure, in terms of the composition, in terms of the selection of the commissioners. What approach do we use? In terms of whether they will be full-time or part-time, in terms of the strength of the secretariat vis-a-vis the commission itself. Those are issues that will be handled. So the issue of these 4 commissioners is a minor issue. And let's not create problems in the country because of something that certainly and obviously will be overtaken by events as Kenya's move towards 2027 with a new look electoral system and body.